All right, so this week in the Big 12, we will go in chronological order of the times the games kick off.
Sounds good.
And then we'll throw in the SMU and Houston game at the end. Doesn't matter when they play that one. Although I do think it might be a night game because that's the last one because the Houston's not in and SMU's not coming. So, but Houston is the new team, and that's what we do every week. So we get 5 games. Everybody's done with their buys. So we're in the home stretch. So we've got 5 games to pick in the Big 12, and then, of course, the SMU and Houston game. So far, the picks, all you need to know is that I have not lost one, and Royden has missed them all. And so Jacob gets to take over that spot. We're not putting up the records. We're not letting you fact check. If you'd like to go back and fact check through all the episodes, feel free if you've got the time. I will not debate any of the information because it's on video.
I mean, I'm only going to have 1 week's worth of picks to scrub through, and so if I win, I'm not going to let you hear the end of it next week. I'm just letting you know.
So, all right. So let's start off Texas Tech at TCU, the 11 o'clock kick. This is the big noon kickoff game for Fox this week. Jacob, Texas Tech will play better this week than they did last week.
They have to.
But TCU, far, far too good, I think, and a bad matchup for this defense. They've got too many weapons. Max Duggan's still locked in. I think that the Horned Frogs win this one at home and win it somewhat comfortably. But Tech will fight and scratch and claw. That was the first time this year that Tech really got ripped apart.
And it didn't really feel like a blowout, even though the score kind of reflected that. It was more of just kind of the decision that they made at the end of the game to have Donovan Smith in there and then Tyler Shuck, and then all of a sudden Baylor had that humongous lead.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're going to get blown out by TCU. The only way that they have a chance of winning is if Baron Morton comes out and has the game of his life. And, Big 12 newcomer of the week, maybe offensive player of the week. He'll need a performance like that for the Red Raiders to really have a chance. But like you said, TCU's just a little too good for this one.
Yeah, and it's in Fort Worth, so Tech is not one away from the friendly confines.
Yeah, they're
Jones AT&T.
9.5 point favorites.
Yeah, I tend to lean that might be about right for TCU this week. Baylor at Oklahoma. 2 weeks ago, I was picking Oklahoma. This Baylor team was in a bad way. Oklahoma was starting to figure themselves out. They just scored 52 points. I thought oh, man. Oh, gosh. I don't know how they match up. I don't think this is good. They've got to go to Norman, a place they have won before, but not a whole heck of a lot.
No.
Classically, I think Oklahoma won like their first 40 games against Baylor over the history of, 50 years. It was ridiculous. Before Baylor started actually beating them and then going to Norman and beating them. But after what Baylor did this week, I'm picking Baylor to beat Oklahoma. I think that they know how to match up against an offense that's very similar in maybe not in exactly what they're doing, but it's in that same tree.
Yeah.
And it's similar in goal in that they want to run the no huddle. Once the clock gets just a couple seconds under 20, they want to be able to snap that ball and do it again and again and again. And if Baylor can make you slow it down, I'm still not sold in that Oklahoma defense, especially with Baylor being able to run right at them. I think it's a bad matchup for Oklahoma. I think Baylor wins this.
This was the hardest one for me to pick because, like you said, they're both going up in terms of how they're trending. But when I saw Baylor look as good as they did last week, and I thought about how Oklahoma is probably a better version of Texas Tech, like just the way that their teams have with their strengths, I just couldn't bring myself to pick Baylor this week. I would need to see a defensive performance from Baylor in multiple weeks in a row in order for me to feel confident in picking them against a team like Oklahoma with what they've got going on with Dylan Gabriel. But that being said, it's a 3.5 point spread. I bet Baylor covers. I bet it's really close. And I'm also smashing that over under. It's 57.5. That seems low to me.
Yeah. Okay, so you're taking OU. All right.
Yeah.
There we go. Way to be not a homer. Good job, Jacob. Proud of you. Oklahoma State at Kansas. This is the one I had the hardest time with because I have no idea who's going to play for either team. But I do think that the goal has always been to get Jalen Daniels back for Kansas after the bye.
Yeah.
He's at practice. Nobody knows what he's doing, but he's there, and he's in pads, and he's wearing a helmet and all those.
Is he throwing?
Don't ask me that question. That I don't know. But I like Jalen Daniels coming back this week, giving Kansas a little bit of mo and winning this game at home and them getting to a bowl against a wounded animal in Oklahoma State who can be dangerous. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they're going to get that healthy, even though they're not going to do they say they're not going to do the things they did last week. They still had a reason to try to necessitate that, and that is the health of their team. I think that they go in and get Oklahoma State and maybe even effectively knock Oklahoma State out of this race this week. I'm taking the Jayhawks.
I mean, I think if it's not Kansas, it'll be another team that Oklahoma State loses to later on. That being said, I took Oklahoma State primarily just because this is a very capable team, very capable of winning against a team like Kansas. And I made my pick on the assumption that Jason Bean will be taking the snaps for Kansas. And I just don't think that Mike Gundy, I think he's a good enough coach to where you won't see a performance remotely like that 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, no. I think this will be, back and forth. I just think that Jalen Daniels has got some magic about him.
Oh, yeah.
And coming back, that's my difference in this
game. If I knew
game.
today that he was going to be playing, I would pick Kansas.
Now, I will say this. If this winds up being Jason Bean versus Gunnar Gundy, I will still pick Kansas. Now, if it winds up being Jason Bean versus Spencer Sanders, I will feel less confident about my pick of Kansas. Still picking the Jayhawks, though. Jacob's going with the Pokes. West Virginia at Iowa State. Jacob, is this the week?
I think this is the week that Iowa State gets the monkey off their back.
I agree with you. I think that it being at home, they desperately need this win. Iowa State knows who they are. West Virginia doesn't, and I think that will come through this week, and they'll be able to defend West Virginia's offense pretty well, and I think that they will score barely enough points to do this. Yeah. My friend Adam Batchelor, who is an Iowa State grad, sent Smokey and I a text the other day, said ever since they rubbed up against Iowa, they've not been able to shake that off, and it's been very true. The whole state of Iowa, I know it would be worse, but it's like the cornfields have boll weevils or something. That's cotton, yeah. But you know what I mean. I mean, corn worms. I don't know.
You look at Iowa State with an 0-5 record, and you forget the good things about their team, which is that they have a fantastic defense, 16 points a game allowed, and that says something. And they're 7-point favorites at home.
Yeah,
and I could see them covering that. I don't think West Virginia has enough offensive firepower to get past this team.
No, I think this is the week. This is the week. And they improved to 4-5 in the year. Needing to go 2-1 down the stretch is going to be really hard for the Cyclones. And the second hardest game of the week for me to pick is Texas at Kansas State. Texas coming off the loss and a bye. I picked Kansas State for two reasons. One, they are at home. Two, the way that defense played last week was a statement game. I think they can do that to Texas. I don't think they're going to shut anybody out. I think that's over. I think this Texas offense is too good for that with Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson and Xavier Worthy. But I do think that they can get to and rattle Quinn Ewers enough to make a difference in the game. I like Kansas State here in an absolute slobber knocker tight game. I'm taking the Power Cats, EMAW, and all that stuff. That's what I'm doing this week. I feel less confident about this pick than anyone other than the Kansas game. The Sunflower State's really messing with me this week.
Yeah, it is.
But I am picking Kansas State at home with that defense to continue this role because I'm starting to think that there's something a little bit special about this team.
Well, I took Texas, and the reason for that is because they had that bye week. And I think Quinn Ewers, we forget because of how good he is that he's a freshman, and that showed against Oklahoma State. But I think you give a kid like that and the other playmakers that Texas has a week to prepare. And not just that, but they have the game film from this Oklahoma State win that they had. And so they really have ample time to figure out a good game plan for this Kansas State team. And that's the main reason why I picked them. I think it'll be close, but ultimately I'm going with the Longhorns.
All right. So we differ quite a bit, Jacob.
Yeah.
We differ quite a bit. This is exciting. It's exciting that we have this. It's not just a society of mutual agreement. We don't have that here. That's good. Houston at SMU at Ford Stadium in Dallas. A weird president to name your stadium after, since he's not from your state.
What president was it?
Gerald Ford.
Gerald Ford. Well, he was a football player.
Yeah, but not there. I mean, wasn't particularly, a well-accomplished president or vice president either. I mean, Watergate and all. So I don't know. Some SMU fans are going to have to explain that to me. Maybe he went and got a graduate degree there. I'm going to look this up.
Maybe they just really wanted to name it after Nixon, and they said, no, we can't do that. We'll just give it to the guy who pardoned him.
Yeah. Let's see. Gerald Rudolph Ford. Early life, college and law school.
He's a Michigan guy, right?
Yeah. 1934. That's just a long time ago. Hold on. He went to Yale Law School. So I don't know. I don't know why Ford Stadium. Somebody's going to have to give me the history on that. I guess I could Google that as well. But I was just looking up facts on Gerald Ford. That's what you get from the big one, too.
You get history?
You get presidential fun facts.
Mm-hmm.
That Gerald Ford, the stadium at SMU, is named after him. But, I mean, I don't know what he has to do with it. So maybe somebody in the chat room can do that. But Houston versus SMU, I am taking the ponies. Jack?
Sorry to interject, but it's Gerald J. Ford Stadium, named for a billionaire banker who provided most of the funding.
Oh, okay. There we go. Gerald J. Ford. Okay, thank you. All right.
Like I needed a reason to feel dumber, Paul.
Yeah, thank you. I feel pretty dumb right now. So, would you go by Gerald Ford, though?
I mean, you might want to include your middle initial.
I mean, it says it here. I just, it didn't occur to me. But like, would you go by Gerald, or would you be like Jerry Ford?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
it's a matter of personal preference.
I guess so. I mean, maybe it's the office space.
I mean, if my name was Orenthal James Wilson, I wouldn't. I'd probably the Orenthal J or something like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily want to.
I would maybe err on the Office Space, the Michael Bolton thing. Like, why should I change when he's the one who sucks? Kind of a thing. But in this game at Gerald J. Ford Stadium, I am taking SMU. They've played pretty well the last couple weeks. Houston, I don't like them on the road. They've played better than they did at the beginning of the season, but I don't like anything that's going on there right now. I don't like. They're too all over the place. Clayton Tune's a good quarterback, but they've been too inconsistent. I'm taking the ponies here at home.
I mean, they've actually won their last 3 games though, Paul, and it was a really, really rocky start, and everyone was calling for Dana Holgerson, and everyone was really worried that this team wasn't going to be what it was.
Two of those games were against Navy and USF. So,
I mean,
they should have, but
handled them just fine and almost beat a fairly good Tulane team that we've talked about. And so I didn't make my picks with the intention of disagreeing with you on every single one, but I picked Houston mainly because I think that Clayton Tune is on a good tear right now. These teams are very, very similar when you look at the total yards allowed per game, total yards for their offenses per game. It's so incredibly close. Points per game, Houston has 33, SMU has 35. They both have. This is a fantastic quarterback matchup, by the way. Clayton Tune versus Tanner Mordecai. But ultimately, I went with Houston simply because I think that they are finding themselves again. It might not be as pretty as we thought it would be, but I think that Houston pulls this one out.
So, of the games that we've picked,
I think we only agreed on one.
Agreed on one, which was TCU winning. You picked Oklahoma.
Oh, no, we agreed on Iowa State, too.
And Iowa State. So, we've agreed on 2. So,
there will be a clear winner and a clear loser.
A good shot that you go 2-4 this week, my friend.
Same with you.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying there's a good shot that you go 2-4 this week. I'm never wrong. We just go back and look. But thank you to everybody who's watched. Thank you to everybody who will watch later on when you pick the segment. Thanks to Jack McKenzie. Thanks to Jacob Wilson. Thanks for Roy Ogletree, even though he's not here. I just feel like thanking him.
Why would you thank someone who doesn't show up for work?
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I mean, he's in Cabo. I mean, clearly, we let him out of the closet this week. He's earned that. So he's in Cabo having a big old time. And
yeah, letting him out of the closet, going to Cabo, having a big old time. That means a lot of different things, Paul.
yeah, it's true. We usually store him in the closet. Sorry. I guess I hear it now. Sure, his wife wouldn't like that news, but I think that's who he's there with in Cabo. At least I hope it is. So the next show Monday, same big 1-2 time, same big 1-2 channel.
Yep.
So we'll be back here. And Jacob, look, if Jacob, I'll say this: if Jacob makes me go 2-4, he will be able to make picks the rest of the season. If he goes 2-4. Not till next year.
All right, challenge accepted.
There we go. That's the bet. Thanks to Jack McKenzie for sticking around and producing. Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy football. Enjoy the World Series when it starts. It's rained out now, so hopefully you can pick up some of you baseball fans tonight because you had nothing else to do. This is the big 1-2 on 365 Sports.